Am I the asshole for exposing my brother's fake $250,000 donation in front of 300 people at a hospital gala, including his colleagues, my parents, and his wife?
Welcome to PopcornRest story. Today's story is about a woman who spent 5 years seriously supporting her parents only to be told she had never contributed anything to the family. But when she followed the money, she uncovered a shocking betrayal that would destroy her brother's carefully reputation. Let's get started.
I'm the CFO of a mid-sized company. I've been in finance for 15 years. I know how to read a spreadsheet, and I know what fraud looks like. I also know what it looks like when your mother tells 30 people at a Sunday dinner that you have never contributed anything to this family, and you've been sending $3,000 a month into a joint account for 5 years. Those two things happened to me in the same week. Some background: I'm 39. My brother Michael is 43 and a cardiologist. He has been the centerpiece of my family's identity for as long as I can remember. Every dinner was a recap of his achievements. Every holiday was organized around his schedule. My mother referred to him as her greatest accomplishment in conversations where I was sitting directly across from her. I was not the greatest accomplishment. I was the daughter who had chosen finance over medicine, which my mother considered a reasonable life decision for someone with limited potential. I spent a long time trying anyway. About 5 years ago, I set up a joint account with the intention of supporting my parents. $3,000 every month, transferred on the first of the month every month for 5 years. I never made a production of it. I just did it because they were aging and had some expenses and I could afford to help. The Sunday dinner was 2 months ago that my mother was on her 3rd glass of wine and talking about Michael, his recent publication, a conference he'd been invited to speak at, a patient outcome she had read about in a local paper. I had been nodding along for about 40 minutes when she turned to me and said, in front of my aunts and my father and several cousins, that it was a shame I had never managed to give anything back to this family, that Michael had always been the one who showed up, that she didn't know where she would be without him. I said, "What about the account?" She looked at me with genuine confusion. She said, "What account?" I went home that night and I pulled up the banking records. $180,000 transferred in over 5 years. $180,000 withdrawn in amounts ranging from a few hundred to several thousand by the only other person with access to the account, that my brother. He had been withdrawing the money consistently since the account was opened. Not all at once, steadily, quietly, in amounts that wouldn't trigger obvious review. The withdrawals corresponded to dates I could cross-reference with things I knew about his habits. Sports betting platforms, cryptocurrency exchanges, a pattern that made sense. Once I was looking at it, that my parents had never seen a dollar of it. This is where it gets specific, that my company had recently committed to a major philanthropic initiative, $18 million, designated for the construction of a new cardiac wing at the hospital where my brother works. I had been involved in the planning for months. There was a significant donation, and it was being celebrated at a gala that the hospital was organizing. In the documentation for the gala, there was a section on matching donors, individuals who were contributing personal funds alongside institutional sponsors. My brother's name was listed. His contribution was noted as $2,500,000. I am the CFO of the company making the $18 million donation. I have access to the audit records. I ran a verification. There was no $250,000 contribution from my brother. Not in any account. Not in any form. He had submitted documentation that did not correspond to any real transaction. He was going to be publicly honored at a gala with 300 guests for a donation that he had. Fabricated that, and my company was the reason. That gala was happening. I thought about how to handle this for about 2 weeks. I thought about calling him directly, about giving him the opportunity to quietly correct the record before the event, about handling it the way you're supposed to handle things, privately without an audience, with room for the person to make it right before consequences arrive. Then I thought about 15 years of family dinners, about the way my mother said she has never given anything back to this family with the absolute certainty of someone who believed it entirely. About $180,000 transferred monthly for 5 years while my parents lived without knowing anyone was helping them. I decided to go to the gala. Am I the asshole for what I'm planning? The event is this Friday. 300 guests. My brother will be honored for a $250,000 donation that doesn't exist. My parents will be in the room. His wife will be in the room. Every senior figure at that hospital will be in the room. I am representing the company that is the primary sponsor. I will have the floor. I keep asking myself if this is justice or if this is me choosing a public venue because I want an audience. I genuinely don't know the answer. I'm asking because I can't see it clearly from inside it that long. Didn't read. Been sending $3,000 a month to a joint account for parents for 5 years. Mom told a room full of people I'd never given anything to the family. Checked the account. Brother had been withdrawing everything, $180,000 total, for gambling and crypto. Meanwhile, he forged documents claiming a $250,000 personal donation to get honored at a hospital gala. A gala my company is funding with $18 million. I'm representing the company at the event. Am I the asshole if I say something publicly? Edit. Going Friday. Update after that edit too. It's done. Writing it up now.
Wow. So this story is already incredibly frustrating, and honestly, it's hard not to feel angry for the OP. For years, she fully supported her parents without acting for recognitions, only to be publicly dismissed and treated like she had never contributed anything. What's even worse is that her own brother appears to have been talking. Her own brother appears to have been taking advantage of both her trust and their parents' ignorance the entire time. The most troubling part isn't even the missing $180,000, is the fact that Michael seems willing to build his reputations on a lie. If he really forged records for a $1 million donations, then this go far beyond family favoritism. And straight into a dangerous territory. Hi, sparked. Part of me thinks he deserves to be ISPO, especially after years of deceptions, but another part wonders if a public confrontation could create consequences nobody is expecting. One thing feels certain, this gala is not going to go the way Michael thinks is well. And I have a feeling the truth is finally about to catch up with him.
Update 1, 3 days after the Gala event was at a downtown hotel ballroom. About 300 people, hospital board members, donors, senior medical staff, people from the philanthropic community, and yes, my parents and my brother's wife seated at a family table near the front that my brother was in a tuxedo. He looked comfortable. He looked like a man who expected the evening to go a certain way. I was introduced as the representative of the evening's principal sponsor. I had prepared remarks about the cardiac wing project, the hospital's work, the community impact. Standard donor acknowledgement language. I gave about 2 minutes of that. Then I said I needed to address something in the program before we proceeded. I said that the gala materials listed a matching contribution of $250,000 from Dr. Michael Goodwin. I said that as part of standard due diligence for our philanthropic commitments, our finance team had conducted a verification of all listed donors. I said that no contribution of that amount, or any amount, from Dr. Goodwin appeared in the hospital's gift records, our own matching funds documentation, or any financial record we had been able to locate. I said the listing appeared to be an error that needed to be corrected before the evening continued. I said it in the tone I use in board meetings, measured, factual, without flourish. Then I said that I also wanted to share something personal, because I believed the people in the room deserved the full context of who they were honoring. I explained the account. I said that for 5 years I had been contributing to a joint account designated for my parents' care, and that a recent review of those records had shown the funds had been systematically withdrawn by my brother before reaching them. I said the total was $180,000. I said my parents had not known. I looked at my mother when I said that last part, the room was quiet in the specific way that rooms go quiet when 300. People are all processing the same thing at once. My brother stood up. He said something. I couldn't hear exactly what, and then he walked toward the exit with the energy of someone who had calculated that leaving was better than staying. His wife did not follow, and that my parents sat very still. A board member I had never met leaned over to the hospital's executive director and said something in a low voice. The executive director nodded that the program continued after a brief pause. The cardiac wing donation was acknowledged. My brother's name was not.
Well, I don't think anyone in this world expected the night to end like that. The thing that's really sent down to me isn't even the public exposure itself. It's how calm and controlled it was. No yelling, no traumatic executions, just backs let down one after another until there was nowhere left for Michael to hide. And honestly, their reactions might be even more telling than the speech. Michael leaving the room immediately, his wife staying behind, the hospital executive while they talking among themselves. Those details make it feel like the story is far from over. If anything, the gala were probably just the beginning. What I'm most curious about now is the family response afterward. This day, mother finally realized what happened. This Michael tried to defend himself. And what happens when the rabbit phone out begins? After the public embarrassment, I have a feeling the real drama starts the moment the swearing room went silent.
Update 2. Finale several months later. Here is what happened. The hospital conducted an internal investigation. The falsified donation documentation was reviewed and confirmed as fraudulent. My brother's hospital privileges were suspended pending review, and he subsequently lost his medical license. I understand the licensing board's process took about 3 months as his creditors, people and institutions. He owed money from the gambling and trading activity, became aware of his situation and pursued collection. His wife filed for divorce during this period. The custody arrangement that resulted gave her primary custody. My parents were told everything. Not by me directly, the records were what they were. And my mother had enough people explaining things to her that she understood it fully without me having to narrate it. My father called me about 2 weeks after the gala. He said he had not understood what I had been doing for the family and that he was sorry for that. He said it without qualifications. It was the most straightforward thing he had ever said to me, and I sat with it for a long time after the call, as my mother has not said the same thing directly. But she doesn't mention Michael in my presence anymore. She asks about my work. She asks about my life. It's imperfect and cautious, and more than I had before. I set up a trust that it pays directly to my parents' accounts on the 1st of each month. No joint access. No intermediaries. The money goes where I intend it to go, and I can verify that it does. I didn't announce this. I just set it up and let the deposits speak for themselves. I've been thinking about what I actually wanted when I stood at that podium. Whether it was accountability or whether it was something smaller and less dignified, the satisfaction of an audience, the visibility of a consequence, probably both. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. What I can say is that my parents are being supported. My brother's fraudulent records have been corrected. The hospital's donors know what was done in their name. And I have not spent a single dinner in the past for months sitting across from my mother while she tells the room what I have never given. That is not a perfect ending. It is a real one, not the asshole. But the question underneath the question was whether I had earned the right to stop managing the fallout of other people's choices. Whether 15 years of absorbing my family's version of me entitled me to, at some point, simply correct the record. I think it did. The donations are going where they're supposed to go. The record is accurate. My mother asks about my work now. That's enough. For now, that's enough. Dr. Long. Didn't read. Brother's medical license revoked following hospital investigation. Creditors pursued collection. Wife divorced him. Primary custody to her. Dad called 2 weeks after the gala and apologized without qualifications her first time. Mom doesn't mention Michael in my presence anymore. Asks about my life instead. Set up a trust that pays directly to my parents monthly with no intermediaries. Not a perfect ending. A real one.
So after hearing the whole story, I think what makes this so compelling is how long this froth stayed hidden in plain sight. Everyone around Michael seemed to see the image. He was checked out. Why nobody stopped to look at was what actually happening behind the scenes. Meanwhile, the burden Wendy carried this Buzzreedies were years were all but invisible with her own family. What's really struck me is that this wasn't a battle between a good sibling and a bad sibling. This was a story about possession. One person was celebrated for what people assume he has done, while the other was criticized despite what he's have actually doing. The gap between appearance and reality cast waiting water until eventually it's collapsed. I know it's on wait. The ending also feels different from most Freddy story because it doesn't deliver a perfect sense of closure. There's no traumatic reconciliations, no emotional family hug and no easy fix for years of pre-remissionism. Instead, there are small but meaningful changes. A father who finally seen his daughter clearly. A mother asking questions she should have been asked years ago. A system that no longer relies on trial and but on accountability. And maybe that's why this ending feels satisfying. Not because everyone gets what they deserve, but because reality finally replayed this story that has been told for years. The OP didn't win a competitions with her brother. She simply stopped allowing other people to define who he was. Sometimes that's the most important victory a person can have. And I'd say that's what stayed with me long after the story ended. So let me know what you guys think about this story, because I just want to hear what you guys think about this one. And if you guys enjoy this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to Back on Read This Story, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!